Welcome back guys to another chess video. Before beginning, I would first like to thank every single one of you who helped in growing this channel to 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate all the love and support from you guys. In today's video, we are taking a look at a game from the Spring Chess Classic, which is a 10-player round-robin event held in the St. Louis Chess Club. On the white side, we have Benjamin Bok, one of the up-and-coming players from the Netherlands. On the black side, we have Vietnamese star Quang Liem. The game opened with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, g3, so white goes for the Catalan, bishop b4 check, and we have a Nimzo Indian from black. Knight d2, d5, bishop g2, black castle, knight to f3, b6, bishop b7, so a position resembling a Queen's Indian for black. b3 from white, also preparing to fianchetto his bishop. We have knight b to d7, bishop b2, knight to e4, rook to c1, and here f5 from the Quang Liem. And this is the new move in the position. Previously, rook b8 has once been played, where black went for a plan of bringing the other rook over to c8 in hopes of achieving a c5 break. But in this game, f5 was played. Benjamin played a3, kicking back bishop, and then b4, trying to discard c5. Quang played c6, queen to b3, king to h8, a prophylactic move, just getting out of the queen's diagonal. We have rook after d1, queen to e8 with possibilities of swinging the queen over to the king side. Knight to e5, that was taken, and rook over to d8, supporting the central pawn. White decides to resolve some tension in the center, and we have e takes d5, capturing away from the center as black wants the option of going c5. So now e3 was played by Benjamin. That just stops black from expanding with f4, and also prevents bishop a6, which hits the pawn on e2, which could sometimes be annoying. So black continued with c5. That was taken, and instead of capturing back with the knight, this pawn cannot take as the bishop is simply hanging. So instead of taking with the knight, bishop c6 was played by Quang Liem, and white has two options in this position. He can either drop the queen back, queen a2, as bishop a4 is a threat, or he can play c takes b6 and give up the exchange. But this is a very playable position for white. White has the two bishops, some pressure against the d5 pawn, and with the knight coming into a nice central square, white should be having enough compensation, I believe. But in the game, Benjamin decided on queen to a2. But maybe white should have gone for the exchange sacrifice, since the position would be more concrete. Black can now play the move bishop a5 to remove the defender of the knight. So here white would probably give up the exchange, and we would reach the same position as shown previously. But Quang didn't go for that, because white's plan would be more obvious. Instead, Quang played b takes c5. It's hard to find a concrete plan for white in this position. Black is very solid, and his central pawns are adequately protected at the moment. So in this position, white tried to move f3, which chases away the knight, as there was also the threat of bishop a4. But in doing so, white now weakens his e3 pawn. We have knight g5 from black. The worst case for black would he would always have the e6 square for the knight, which is a nice blockading square. Black now threatens some pawn breaks of his own. For example, he might consider playing the move d4, taking advantage of this weak e3 pawn, followed up by the move f4. These breaks would open up lines for his rooks. So therefore, Benjamin tries to lock down the king side. He plays the move f4. The knight comes back to the e4 square. We have knight takes, f takes, bishop a1, queen to g6. I really like how Quang played this position. First, he tries to probe some weaknesses on the king side before making use of his mobile center. Queen to e2 was played. Now bishop to b7, going for a bishop maneuver. Bishop to f1 from Benjamin Bok, maybe anticipating bishop a6. Perhaps Benjamin also felt that the bishop was a bit suffocated by the pawn on d4, so he played bishop f1. But black instead now goes bishop to c8, threatening bishop g4, so queen to g2. And now h5, another good move by Quang, trying to tie the queen down using the threat of h4. And in this position, white goes wrong. He plays rook to b1. Keeping the rook on the c file would have prevented black from playing d4 a bit longer. For example, bishop e2, a move which keeps the rook on the c file. Black doesn't have to play d4, but we will do so for demonstration purposes. So here white can simply take the pawn, and black doesn't have the idea of rook takes d4, and following it up with bishop c5 because the rook controls the c file. But after rook b1, black took advantage. He played d4. And now the d4 pawn is immune, as we have just discussed, because if bishop takes, he can play rook takes d4, followed with bishop c5, and this wins on the spot. So in the game, rook to e1 played. At this point, black just takes over the game. e3 now, pushing his pawns. Rook b to c1, and now d3. And this pawn on e3 is immune because if that is taken, then d2, threatening just to promote, also attacking the rook. And if rook d1, bishop c5 wins the rook. So rook c6 was played, attacking black's queen. But Quang simply ignores it. He plays d2, now threatening to capture the rook while promoting the pawn. So rook to d1, queen to h7, getting out of the rook's attack, rook c7, and now rook d7 as the bishop has no flight squares. Queen c6 played. Rook takes c7, queen takes c7. Black has multiple ways to win this position. e2 is one of the possibilities, and if that is taken, queen e4, and if rook takes, while simultaneously defending the bishop on e2, queen e3 check picks up the rook, and black should be winning this position. If king f1, then bishop h3, followed by queen g1, and queen takes f1 is mate. In this position, Quang played rook to e8, just defending his bishop. Benjamin tried bishop to b5, attempting to remove the defender of the bishop, but here Quang calmly plays queen to e4. The rook was taken, and now e2. And in this position, Benjamin Bok resigned. One of these pawns are going to promote, with mate soon to follow for white. A very aesthetically pleasing ending to the game. I hope you enjoyed it, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.